You were announced as Bradford Bulls head coach on the 17th of September this year, so you've been a part of that club for about 2.5, 3 months at this point. First of all, how's it gone so far?
Yeah, it's gone really well, thank you. It's been a big transition for the club, going from part-time to full-time, but in particular going to Super League full-time. So usually when you transition, you usually go from part-time to full-time. It's usually the championship, then you form your story from there. So we've been slightly different. So I got asked a question, are we very similar to a Lee and a Wakefield? So they went full-time, almost recruited a Super League team, then went up. And I always say, no, we're not, because we've just gone straight up to Super League and had to change from part time to full time. So the step up for us has been humongous. But there's been teething problems in it, but ultimately the club have been fantastic, getting things in place, getting the environment ready, getting a team over the line. So we've done a lot of good work in a short space of time.
Well, that's fantastic. I was going to ask about that transition. What kind of specifics goes into that? What do you need from the club as well to make that transition so that you go from a championship level performances on field to Super League level performances on field?
Well, I think the big part of it first was identifying players that we could bring over to Bradford, trying to get a Super League ready team within a very short space of time. So that was very difficult. Getting the boys re-signed at Bradford, who we thought was potential Super League players. So there was a lot of work in regards to recruitment before I'd even got over to Bradford. Then looked at the training facility and put some things in place so as to change it ready for full time. Just a lot of things: staffing, players, environment. There was a load of changes that had to happen really quickly.
Well, I think the club's made about 13 or 14 signings at this point. It's a ridiculous number, 9 of which have a lot of Super League experience already. That isn't even including the likes of Dorrow and Gardner, who at least have some Super League experience. But let's start with the Salford lads in particular. You've most recent signing is Joe Mellor. Then you've got Ethan Ryan, Jaden Nikarima, Logan Lewis. Technically, you got Rowan Milnes and Dan Russell as well. What are those guys? What are those guys going to bring to the squad for this season?
Yeah, so obviously the situation had happened with Salford, then I'd obviously left myself and the players were left without club. So with the club, Bradford getting into Super League, I knew them players were available, but I knew we had to strike really quickly to get them over the line to come to the Bulls, because there's a lot of clubs sniffing around all the players in different capacities, whether it was NRL, Super League, Championship. So I had to get them boys done really, really quickly. And yeah, a few of them have been with me at Salford before, who were due to play for me next year when I was the head coach at Salford. So it was a different change of environment, but just the same process for them, really. So I had to strike quickly to get them boys done before anybody else signed them. And then, yeah, we kind of just had to go from there. So we had to get them over the line. But when we were speaking to the players, it was very difficult to guarantee Super League. So until we actually got the heads up we were in Super League, everything was 99.9% until we was in, until we got that final call. So that was a bit of a stumbling block for us. But once we got it over the line, things just started to happen really quickly then.
Yeah. On those Salford players, do you think for the upcoming season that after that last season, they'll be better at guiding younger players, possibly be better at dealing with adversity because of the year that they've just had to go through?
I think maybe if you asked them right now, they would possibly say no, because they've probably not realised what they've had to go through living it. But the one person I would say in particular would be Jaden Nikarima. So Jaden really took a leadership role within that Salford group, and especially the lone lads that come in, especially in the midst of the madness that was going on. So I probably, out of everybody, I would say Jaden Nikarima really took a leadership responsibility in it.
Fantastic. And looking at some of the other lads as well, Ackers that you would have coached as well, Dorrow Gardner, Chamberlain, what have they brought to the group so far?
Super League experience. So the big thing that we had, some of the boys that we've transitioned from part time to full time, we tried to be as respectful as we could with it, and I tried to keep as many players that had played Super League before or had Super League experience, so the step up wasn't too big. So the disparity in the squad was really big at first, but bringing the Super League experience players in with the Bradford boys that had already played Super League, your Wonga Blakes and your Jaden Ockenballs. So try to bring them in, and plus they know my style of playing, how I play. So that basically I brought a load of coaches over with me that can help me deliver my style.
And some of the championship players in Wynne, Akins, and Douglas, what have you seen from them so far?
Yeah, so it's opportunity that presents for him being in Super League in regards to Douglas and to Connor Wynn, getting them over to the Bulls. It was almost seamless. As soon as the club was in Super League, people wanted to join the Bulls. So I'd identified them players, thought they could step up to Super League. Obviously, Connor Wynn has been there and done it before in some capacity. Brandon Douglas has had a very brief encounter at Castleford, but made his name in the Championship. So we had to be careful in identifying the right players to suit my style of play, and plus also that were available at the time for us to get. but still wanting to be part of moving forward with the Bulls. So Brandon Douglas jumped at the opportunity to come and join the Bulls in Super League. I think he lives 10 minutes away from the ground, so for him to come and play for the Bulls was massive.
Fantastic. Is there anyone that's really surprised you so far? Is there anyone that's surprised you the most? That you probably expected great things from a lot of players, but is there anyone that's really, really surpassed those expectations?
I think it's really difficult to pinpoint anybody. The one thing I would say is what I've found probably the most pleasing is the intensity we've trained at. We're not there yet. We're not ready for games yet. But the intensity that we're training at is really impressing me because we're learning new styles, new systems, new defensive structures. So I've changed a lot in a short space of time. So the intensity that the group have trained with, and that's come from the previous Bradford boys as well as the boys that I brought over. So the collective and the collaboration for intensity in training has been the most pleasing thing for me.
And I know you might have expectations on how you want your side to play as well this year, but do you have any expectations or targets of where you want to be this season? As much as fans, will absolutely be understanding that it's going to be a tough adjustment getting back into Super League. Surely you don't just want to make up the numbers, though. Could you have the same impact that Wakefield and Lee have had since they returned to Super League?
Again, I've been asked this question a couple. I think that's so difficult because they was ready-made Super League teams. They'd recruited ready-made Super Leagues to come up. We've had to do it in the space of 6 weeks, so it's been an almost impossible task at times. So they're a lot more advanced than what we are at the moment. So I don't think that's quite the same narrative. But the big thing that I'll put out into the players, into the public, we want to earn respect. So we want to come into this competition and be respected. There's a lot of players in there that know what it looks like. I've been in Super League a long time myself, so we know what it looks like. So we just want to earn respect and hope people enjoy watching the brand of rugby we play and value what we bring to the competition.
Yeah, the one thing I've personally noticed from Lee and Wakey since they've come back in, which I respect a lot, is that they are unapologetically themselves. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. They look like themselves. They'll have like the off performance here and there, but they are not afraid to be who they are and go at teams, which I really like about those sides. But are you feeling a lot of pressure from this job so far? Because it's a big job to take on, and there's a lot of history in Bradford. Is there a lot of pressure on your shoulders at the moment with this?
I wouldn't say I'm feeling it right now. I think I'm just enjoying the day to day of having a new team and implementing my style. As I said, I was due to take over at Salford, so I like to think I was ready to take the opportunity, but I wouldn't say I'm feeling the pressure as yet. Maybe come and ask you that after round one or two.
All right, we'll do, we'll do. Want to sort of shift into sort of different kinds of questions a little bit. Sort of philosophy and leadership. Given that you have brought in a lot of players, how do you go about making sure that everyone gels? How do you turn that into a cohesive unit as quickly as possible? And what have you done so far to make that so?
Yes, well, I think the big thing that we have done, obviously being full time really helps. So being in day to day, we're up to 5 day weeks at the moment, so we're spending a lot of time together. But the big thing that we are doing in particular is we're doing a lot of things off site. So we're going to we have breakfast every Saturday morning. We try and play a game every Saturday morning against an opposition, so to bring that team morale together. So we've just done a lot of things within the basis that we can do full time to bring the group together. I've brought a lot of people over that already know the style of play and know me personally. So the lads who were still unsure and figuring a lot of things out, some don't always like to come and speak to me and say, right, what does this look like? What do we need to do? So they've got them lads to lean on a little bit, but we've done a lot of things together as a group within 6 weeks that I wouldn't have thought we'd done as much as so far, but I think that's really helping bond the group together. Like I said, they're going for breakfast together. We've got a lot of team functions planned together. So as much as I can bring the group together off field as well as on the field, it can only help us moving forward, especially to start the season well.
Well, what were the first things that you wanted to instill in your squad? Because we hear some coaches talk about having a defence-first mindset or trying to be more physical through the middle. What's the main focus of your side? What do you want them to look like and feel like?
Well, the first thing I did was discipline. So, because there's a lot of lads stepped up from part time to full time, they had to know what a tough Super League pre-season environment looked like. So, we had a couple of teething problems in that, stepping up to that level. And then obviously, as we brought the boys in and they filtered through in pre-season through different dates, that's really stepped the training up. So, the big thing that I brought early was discipline to being a full-time professional rugby player and training at a level every day that's going to make you the best player you can be for the Bradford Bulls.
How do you go about picking your leaders as well? I'm not sure if this is a thing with every club about them having a leadership group. Do you have one at Bradford first of all? And if so, how do you go about picking the right leaders for that group?
Yeah, it's a very careful process, and I think each coach will have their own version of what they have the leadership group look like. So up to now, we're 6 weeks, and I've still not picked my captains yet. So we're still in discussions with the staff, and we're getting very close to nailing down what it looks like. I won't have a specific leadership group. There'll be certain leaders within certain points of the season or certain narratives that we want to use that I will use it within, but there'll not be a specific leadership group. It'll be different people for different times with the experience where I think they can add certain in that certain moment in time that we need them.
Okay. Well, getting on to you a little bit more as a coach. In your journey so far, how have you changed or evolved as a coach since starting your coaching career to now? What's different about the coach you were back then and compared to the one that you are now?
Well, that's a good question. I've been coaching now for 10 years, so I think finding your style out. What is your philosophy? What do you believe in? I think that's the big thing. If you'd have asked me 10, 8, 5 years ago, even maybe said, what does your style look like? What is your point of difference? What is your philosophy? I still don't think I could have answered it. I can now. I think I've worked with a lot of different coaches who have brought a lot of different things to what I believe in. With me, Brian McDermott, I've worked alongside Brian Noble, Paul Rowley. I've worked with some very good and very different head coaches. So just collating bits of data and bits of what they believe in to add to what I already believed in just helps strengthen how I wanted to play. So it's took me 10 years to get anywhere near of what I believe in.
Right. Okay. And with this being your first head coaching gig in Super League, what do you want or expect from your assistant coaches?
Yeah, so I have a forwards coach and a backs coach. So they're both new. So Cal Forster will lead the forwards, and I've got Lee Greenwood who'll lead the backs. So they're both new to Super League, which I quite like the idea of, because when you've been in the competition for so long, as you know yourself, a lot of teams play the same way. So they've both got fresh ideas. They've both got versions of what they like within how I want to play. So that's been really, really refreshing. But in particular, they're both very thorough. They've brought new ideas to me. They've challenged my system too, which has only strengthened me of how I deliver it to the group. So I'm really happy what they've brought, and it's been very refreshing coming from the Championship, and in particular from League One. Of well, why can this work in the Championship and League One? This will still work in Super League. If you practice it, you believe in it. It then doesn't become a risk. It's a practice skill, and they've both been fantastic with their ideas that they've brought to me.
Nice. And so I wanted to sort of shift onto a bit of tactical stuff, just a little bit. Kind of a hypothetical, just to get an idea of how you sort of think in this way. Let's say the hypothetical is your right edge attack has been kind of weak, and you're coming up against a team that's left edge defence has also been fairly weak as well. But your left edge attack is looking real solid, coming up against a right edge defence that is also solid. Which way do you want to go? Do you want to go at the weak defensive side, or do you want to lean into your solid left edge, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think it's very specific to what you need, what works best for us. But ultimately, I'd like to think. So the way I play is people won't be locked in. So I won't particularly leave Nicarima on one side or Kayla Bacon on one side. I'll expect my pivots to play both sides so they can utilise their skill set. So we practice a different version to a lot of people of how we want to play. So ultimately we play to our strengths first, but I like to think we're detailed enough as coaches, as a playing group, to say, right, we know how to isolate where the weaknesses, and ultimately be able to play to our strengths and also expose their weaknesses.
Mm. Are there any particular trends that you've noticed over the last few seasons or last season from teams in attack and defence?
I think within Super League, it's very predictable. So you can watch a game, like, we preview teams with it as coaches. It's very predictable of what you're going to play against. You know which teams are going to land to so many points to play one big shape within a set. You know the teams that are going to move the ball slightly more than other teams. So the predictability of Super League almost makes it a little bit easier to preview. Stopping it's a different matter because of the quality of players is so good. But ultimately, a lot of teams don't play too dissimilar.
Can you watch a game as a fan, or are you constantly analysing and sort of knowing what's going to happen before it does?
I can't know it. It really hurts my head. So I struggle watching Super League in regards to just relaxing. I have to have a couple of beers to watch the game and become a fan and not judge every team and how they play. And yeah, I find it very difficult. I struggle with it. I'm probably getting better the more I've been around it. But ultimately, yeah, I struggle to just sit and watch a game and just enjoy it just for what it is.
Right. Well, I wanted to, at this point, shift onto Salford a little bit because I know it's a rough time for Salford fans at the moment, and you definitely went through a tough time with the club. First of all, what did a week of prep look like at Salford? What did a typical week of prep actually look like at the club with everything that was going on?
Within the mess.
Yeah. What could you actually get through?
So it is. It's. I can look back now and it's almost. It was so interesting. So me and Paul Rowley would get in the morning. We'd first discuss what potential players we could have from different teams. we would struggle to be able to pick what Salford players we would have that week, depending on what situation was in financially, whether it was getting paid, who was refusing to play, who would play. So first of all, we had to try and work out early who would play from our side. Then we had to work out a way who was going to get from other clubs to send us players. So we were probably getting to, if we'd have started the week on a Monday, we could potentially wait till a Thursday, Friday before a Saturday, Sunday game before we have any idea of what team we're going in with. So then when we trained, we could potentially be training with 10 or potentially training with 17. We just didn't know. So we had to have A, B, and C, all different versions of what it looked like. Some days we did preview, some days didn't preview, depending on who we had, who we didn't have. It was very much turn up, see what we've got, and every day was different. It was almost impossible.
I can imagine. Is there any way to get the best out of the team during the week? Is there any particular thing that you could do to get the best out of them, or is it just kind of learning as you go, making it up as you go along type thing?
I think the big thing that we had to do was show empathy, especially to our own players. So then, for you having young loan players coming from different Super Leagues, we had to show empathy first with them because they're getting lads coming over who's never played Super League. You've got lads coming from academies, Championship, from all different places. So showing empathy to them that, yeah, we understand how tough this is. We can't tell you what team we're going to have. We can't tell you what side we're going to play. And I've constantly have Easter Master saying, what side am I playing this week? We're playing centre, wing, standoff, 13. And we just couldn't give them answers. But I would probably say that was Paul Rowley's big strength, having that ability just to keep the group just about on an even keel to perform and turn up. I'd say that was a big strength of Paul Rowley's.
When it was announced that you'd be taking over as head coach at Salford initially, did the setup change at all? Like, were you given any more responsibilities or different responsibilities to prepare you for that, or was it just always the same, or was your role and responsibilities as an assistant close enough to a head coach anyway?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate with the coaches that I've worked with previously, and in particular Paul Rowley. So I was very much, I suppose, if you ask Paul, Paul would manage, I would coach. Paul would pick the team, but ultimately the lot of delivery that I would do. So not a lot would have changed really. And when I was announced as the head coach, we was in a good position then. We was a top six team. So all we was doing looking to recruit no more than 3 or 4 players to really strengthen us to take that next level to go to a top 4 team. So in regards to not a lot would have changed. So me and Paul was starting to do recruitment slowly behind the scenes, just pinpointing who we want to replace and where we want to take that next level to. So no, not a lot changed.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get on to probably the biggest positive at Salford, the game against Warrington, which was your final game at Salford. What a performance, what an effort, what an occasion that was for the fans. Can you just talk me through that whole experience? Because that felt like not just the peak, but euphoric for Salford at that time.
I remember the week because we went to Sales training ground. So they kicked us out the environment over at Salford. I think it was just something to do with the Women's World Cup. So we had to go over to Sales. So we had a fantastic training facility for that week. And just by chance, we managed to get a bit of a settled team for that week. So I think we had around 17 to 20 training. So we kind of had an idea of where we could go that week. And myself and Paul, we did a couple of presentations that week, just in more in a tip sheet version of how we're going to play. So we could put a bit of a game plan together and identify where we wanted to play against Warrington, which we'd not previously been able to do. So that was a really good week for us, but it was also a very difficult week for me because I knew within that week it was going to be my last game. So for me personally, there was a lot happening for me behind the scenes, but ultimately it was one week where I thought, you know what, we could potentially do something here in my last game at the club. So yeah, so we could present a tip sheet meeting, we could do little previews, we could be more ready for the game than what we have been. So it was one of our better weeks leading into that game.
Yeah, I remember that because I think you guys had a pretty much the same squad for about 3 or 4 weeks going into that. I think Rowan Milnes had kicked Lee Leopards to death like a week or two before. He was brilliant. You had Connell, I think it's Connell, Derbyshire, Gorman. They were getting some solid reps in the same spots.
That's right.
For weeks running. So I was nervous about that one. I was confident that we might be able to get 2 points there. But yeah, I was happy for you lot. But yeah, I'll move on from that.
Yeah. Okay.
Happy for you. Very happy for you. But the final few things I wanted to get into was fan questions. I opened it up to fans to submit some stuff. So
Okay.
the first fan question was from Ryan. He wanted to know, what does the scouting and buying process look like?
Yeah, so again, it's been very tricky. So it's been myself, Jason Hurst, and Brian Noble. So we've done a lot of work behind the scenes to try and get the right players in such a short space of time. So it's been myself, Brian Noble, and Jason Hurst who've been first class in assisting me for what I need for my style of play and my philosophy. So going out identifying them players, then effectively getting them over the line. So them two in particular have been brilliant for me in regards to recruitment, identify the right player, what are available, because there wasn't a lot of players left at that point. The Salford situation helped me, but identifying in particular the championship players, your Brandon Douglases, your Connor Wynn. So what they brought to me and the players that fit my style of rugby was really important.
Okay. Well, the next question was from JP. Do you prefer playing or coaching?
Oh, if I could have retired another 10 years earlier than I did, I would have retired then. So I was coaching an amateur team called Pilks Rex in St Helens from the age of, I think it was around maybe 23, 24 as the first team head coach. But when I was playing academy at St Helens at around 17, 18, I was helping coach the open age even then. And I think I knew probably at 17, 18 years old that I wanted to be a coach more than I wanted to be a player, which not many people will say, but that's when I knew my calling was coaching.
Just sort of on that, do you feel that you could have more influence as a player, as a coach? Because as a player, you have 100% control over your performance, but as a coach, you have partial control over everyone's performance.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Ultimately, so when I play, I was a very average player, but what
Oh,
I could
come
do
on.
is but I could see
Come
the
on
game.
now.
I could see the game quickly. So then I'm watching everything unfold around me and going, we should have done this. We could have done that better. But then ultimately, I'm looking at myself going, you're not even doing your job. So there's loads of facets of when I played where it was just more frustrating for me. But yeah, I would much rather coach than be a player.
Right, okay. Well, the next question was from Scott. I think we kind of know the answer to this one for the most part, but he wanted to know why is there such a gap between Super League and the NRL?
Yeah, the disparity is so big at the moment, isn't it? I think the big one is player pool, what they can pick from. There's so many more players playing rugby league over in Australia than there are over here. Plus, geographically, the size of the country compared to what we have. The weather. The weather's a big factor. So we come over here, we'll finish a training session, for example, and we've got Australian boys and South Sea Island boys. We want to do 10, 15 minutes worth of extras. They can't wait to get in because they're freezing cold and they're wet and they're dirty. But over in Australia, you're talking 20, 30, 40 minutes extras that they want to be out on the field practicing the skill. We can't even get our practice, our skill in because of our weather over here. So there's so many different factors. But I would say them two are the big ones, player pool and weather.
Right,
And
okay.
money. And money. The
Oh,
big one's money.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, we all know that one.
Yeah. Next one was from Brandon. He wanted to know which position on the field is most key to a winning team.
So winning team. Well, I will probably say it's your seven, especially with the game control is seven. You know, he'll run the team. He'll be good in the moments where you need to see your game out. He'll be good in the moments when you need to press a little bit more, and then managing your plays 4 and 5 into your transition. I think that's your big one, your seven for me.
I did have a side question actually on loose forwards in particular, because I feel like that position's become more and more important. I will admit, when I was younger watching the game, I didn't pay attention to tactics or the importance of positions. I was just watching it for the sake of watching it because I loved the game. It wasn't until at Warrington, until Joe Westerman came in, that I noticed how important a good loose forward could be. Someone that's technical, someone that puts in a shift through the middle defensively, they can carry the ball well on top of it. How has that role evolved over the last few years?
Yeah, it's a really fitting question actually. So when I was speaking to Bradford when they was interested in me being the head coach, one of my big philosophies is the ball playing 13. So when I spoke to the Bulls about it in particular, they was really excited about that. I've worked with some fantastic 13s. I've worked with Joe Westerman. I've worked with John Wilkin. I've worked with James Bell. I've worked with Ollie Partington, who we turned into a 13. So I'm a big believer in a ball playing 13. I would rather have a ball playing 13 than an extra middle on the field because I like to play through sequences. I like to move the ball a little bit more than just valuing another carry from a middle. So I'm huge on a ball playing 13. You go back when I was growing up, your Sculthorpes, your Farrells, and even a little bit before that, your Hanleys. That's what I think rugby should be played. If you can move the ball through the middle as an extra pivot, that's the kind of entertainment we want to watch.
I've got the final five questions, which are just sort of quick fire ones from myself. I've asked these same ones to Leroy Cudjoe and Jet Walker. So first one, who's the best leader you've played with or been coached by?
Brian McDermott, led by.
In Super League, what's your favourite fixture of the year?
Or want to be Leeds at Odsal now.
Lovely. As a coach, do you have a favourite try that your side has scored?
Oh, no, that's a very difficult question. I don't know. Maybe one of the last tries against Warrington when we beat you, man.
Cheers. Thanks, Kurt. Really appreciate that. Just going to end the call now real quick. Who's the most excited prospect people should look out for at the Bradford Bulls?
Oh, great question. Prospects. I'm going to say Connor Wynn.
Okay. All right. Look out, everyone. Look out. And finally, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to a young boy or girl that wants to have a career in rugby league?
Oh, invest all eggs in one basket and give it a go. Believe in your own ability and taking as much advice as you can.
Lovely. Well, the final thing that I wanted to do, which I want to ask everyone that I do interviews with, is there a charity that's important to you that you'd like to put out there for people to support and donate to?
Yeah, I would say it's leukemia cancer. That's a big one close to my heart and to my family. So, yeah, that's a big one for us.
All right, fantastic. Well, I'm going to conclude it there. Just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It is greatly appreciated. And, best of luck for the season, Kurt.
Good man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.